Don't let YouTube decide what information you get. That's your choice. YouTube is deleting our videos and cuts you off from a source of honest reporting. Make sure you don't lose access to NTD's news content, and take a quick moment to subscribe to our newsletter so no matter what happens here, you'll keep your access to a trustworthy news source.
The White House's top man in Asia says U.S.-China relations are more intensely competitive now, and the era of engagement is over. This as President Biden pushes the intelligence community to find out more about the origins of the CCP virus.
President Biden's Indo-Pacific coordinator, Kurt Campbell, commented on U.S.-China relations on Wednesday, saying the period that was broadly described as engagement has come to an end. He goes on to say that U.S. policy towards China will now operate under a new set of strategic parameters and that the dominant paradigm is going to be competition. Starting from the 1970s, multiple U.S. administrations adopted the engagement strategy towards China. They were hoping to influence China through cooperation in trade and other areas and make China democratic that way. Campbell says the shift in U.S. policy is largely due to Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping's policies. Beijing is pushing its hard power more forcibly. He gives some examples, including Beijing's border clashes with India, economic campaigns against Australia, and the rise of wolf warrior diplomacy. Facing challenges from Beijing, Campbell argues the best way is to work with allies, partners, and friends. He says the U.S. is looking to convene an in-person meeting this fall for leaders of the Quad countries. That's Australia, India, and Japan. They will focus on infrastructure.
And they say there's only two certainties in life, death and taxes. But do you ever wonder just how much you'll pay over your lifetime? The number might surprise you. NTD's Phil Zoe brings us those numbers.
The average American pays $500,000 in lifetime taxes.
People are paying more than $500,000 in taxes.
That's according to fintech company Self. The taxes were based on 4 tax categories: income, property, auto, and sales. New Jersey taxpayers topped the list with an average of nearly $1 million.
They have high property taxes. They're a high income tax state now.
West Virginia pays the least at $300,000. Each state taxes differently. Some charge more on income or business, while others on property. CPA Paul Miller says there are also hidden taxes like your phone bill, which people are not aware of.
That might not seem a lot, but if you pay $1,000 a year for your cell phone bill, $300 of it going to taxes is a lot of money.
Owning a car can also cost thousands of dollars in tax payments.
But I think in the end of the day, the cities that offer a lot to people, the people will pay for it.
New York and California pay the most lifetime taxes on everyday expenses at around $40,000. Phil Zoe, NTD News, New York.
A Cuban baseball star has defected to the United States. The Cuba Baseball Federation says the 22-year-old abandoned the team in Florida while trying out for the Olympics. NTD's Miguel Moreno has that story.
Reports say Cuban baseball player Cesar Prieto, upon arriving at a Florida hotel with his teammates, got into a car and left, abandoning the team. Sports journalist Francis Romero says 22-year-old Prieto was one of Cuba's most prospective players. Now, this isn't anything new. There's a history of Cuban baseball players fleeing the communist country to play ball in the States. White Sox player Jose Abreu and MLB free agent Yasiel Puig did the same. At this time, we don't know why Prieto abandoned the team. In a statement, the Cuban Baseball Federation said his decision has generated repudiation among his colleagues and other members of the delegation. BBC Cuba reporter Will Grant says this loss will surely weaken Cuba's team in its try for Olympic gold in Japan. Miguel Moreno, NTD News.
Criminals trafficking the deadly drug fentanyl into the U.S. through Texas now face tougher penalties. The state's governor made the announcement to combat fentanyl trafficking on the rise. NTD's Kevin Hogan brings us more.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott announced Thursday that trafficking fentanyl across the border is now at least a third-degree felony. Abbott says this makes it one of the toughest drug laws in the state. He says border issues are causing a massive spike in fentanyl trafficking.
Well, in addition to the people coming across the border, there is something else that is crossing the border. It is unseen to the general public, but importantly, this unseen thing coming across the border is deadly, dangerous.
Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid that is up to 100 times more potent than morphine and 50 times more than heroin. All it takes is just 2 milligrams to kill a person. Abbott said that beginning last year, the state had a problem with fentanyl coming in, but he said the problem worsened significantly in the first 4 months of 2021.
So it is clear that Biden's open border policies are unleashing deadly consequences right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
DPS sees nearly 8 times more doses at the start of this year than for all of last year, Abbott said. He made the announcement in Tarrant County, which covers Fort Worth. Abbott noted the problem in that county, saying fentanyl had never been seized there before 2020, but instances are surging this year. Kevin Hogan, NTD News.
Senate Republicans have a new offer to counter President Biden's infrastructure proposal. They say it's close to what Biden laid out earlier and sticks to what's traditionally considered infrastructure. NTD's Arlene Richards has the story.
Good morning, and I want to thank everybody for
Senate Republicans unveil a new $928 billion counteroffer Thursday to President Biden's infrastructure plan. Last week, the White House agreed to remove more than $500 billion from Biden's original plan. It's now at $1.7 trillion.
Senate Republicans continue to negotiate in good faith. We've had a lot of good dialogue with the White House. We're trying to get to that common goal of reaching a bipartisan infrastructure agreement.
Senator Capito says the Republican offer delivers on what Biden laid out during a May 13th meeting at the White House.
And that is to try to reach somewhere near $1 trillion over an 8-year period of time that would include our baseline spending. We have achieved that goal with this counteroffer.
A Biden official later said they're seriously considering the Republican proposal. The main sticking point comes down to the definition of infrastructure. Republicans want the bill limited to physical assets like roads and bridges.
That's what people at home in Wyoming think of as infrastructure. It's, roads with potholes that need to be fixed.
While the White House wants to include social spending programs and education, Biden has imposed an unofficial end of May deadline on the negotiations, and some Senate Democrats have been pushing to go it alone if Republicans do not reach an agreement soon. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
Every Massachusetts man and woman who gave their lives defending America is honored in Boston's Memorial Day Flag Garden. NTD's Sapphire Corder has that story.
Oh, say, can you see?
A touching memorial. For the past 12 years, the people of Boston have come together to plant a flag for every Massachusetts service member who has given his or her life for their country since the Revolutionary War. The stunning scene, a field of red, white, and blue, over 37,000 flags. Seeing it helps you comprehend the number of fallen the way hearing it never could.
It is critical to look back on our history and recognize all the fallen service members from Massachusetts and the great deeds that have helped our country become what it is today.
The event was significantly scaled back last year because of the CCP virus pandemic. This year, every flag was planted, but only by around 100 volunteers. It took over 10 hours, more than twice as long as years prior. The volunteers included first responders, healthcare workers, frontline workers, those in uniform, and many more.
The debt that's paid by the flags here and the folks they represent can never be repaid.
On Thursday, the garden was completed as the flag for every fallen service member from the state since 9/11 was added. All of their names were read aloud.
Specialist David Joseph Babineau.
While the meeting wasn't as large as years past, it was still meaningful to those in attendance.
These flags will remain in place throughout this weekend as our gift to the people of the Commonwealth and to any and all families who have lost a loved one in service.
The garden has inspired similar memorials across the United States. Sapphire Corder, NTD News.
As Memorial Day is approaching, Washington, D.C. is going to celebrate with a mix of in-person and virtual events and the annual tradition, the National Memorial Day Parade.
The pandemic canceled last year's National Memorial Day Parade in D.C., but as life is starting to return to normal, the parade will make its return on Monday. But there's a catch. The event will only be filmed for TV and will be closed to the public, despite a recent easing of virus restrictions. It'll be live streamed online and televised domestically on most major cable networks beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. American Veterans Center says it hopes to return with an in-person crowd next year. Another returned event is the motorcycle rally, Rolling to Remember, which will be held on Sunday. This is to raise awareness of the critical issues veterans face every day. It also serves as a tribute to prisoners of war and those missing in action. Also on Sunday, people can enjoy the National Memorial Day concert from the West Lawn of the U.S. Capitol. It'll be aired on PBS at 8 p.m. Eastern Time.